Ayn Rand was a Russian-American writer and philosopher. She was born Alisa Zinovievna Rosenbaum in 1905 in St. Petersburg, Russia. Rand witnessed firsthand the upheaval and oppression of communist rule during her early years. The Bolshevik Revolution led to the confiscation of her father's pharmacy, plunging her family into poverty. This experience profoundly shaped her worldview and fueled her staunch opposition to collectivism. In 1926, she immigrated to the United States, where she pursued her passion for writing and developed her philosophical system, Objectivism. Rand's ideas resonated with many, offering a bold and unapologetic defense of individualism, reason, and capitalism. Her philosophy challenged conventional thinking and ignited passionate debates that continue to this day. Ayn Rand's literary works, most notably her novels The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, captivated readers with their powerful themes and compelling characters. Through her writing, she sought to convey the principles of objectivism to a wider audience. These novels became highly influential, attracting a devoted following and solidifying her status as a cultural icon. Rand's philosophy, which she termed objectivism, offered a systematic approach to understanding the world and living a fulfilling life. It presented a radical departure from the prevailing intellectual trends of the time, championing reason, self-interest, and the pursuit of personal happiness as paramount virtues. Rand's ideas continue to spark controversy and inspire debate, making her a significant figure in 20th century thought. At its core, objectivism is a philosophy of rational individualism. It posits that reality exists independently of consciousness, meaning that the world exists whether or not we perceive it. Objectivism emphasizes the power of reason as the primary means of understanding the world and guiding human action. It rejects faith, mysticism, and any form of supernaturalism, advocating instead for a firm grounding in logic and empirical observation. Objectivism champions individual rights as absolute and inalienable, stemming from our nature as rational beings. It upholds the right to life, liberty, and property as essential for human flourishing. According to objectivism, individuals are responsible for their own choices and should be free to pursue their own happiness without coercion from others or the state. Central to objectivism is the idea that rational self-interest is the moral principle that should guide human action. This does not, however, equate to selfishness or disregard for others. Instead, objectivism advocates for mutually beneficial interactions based on voluntary trade and respect for individual rights. In essence, objectivism presents a comprehensive and integrated philosophical framework that encompasses metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and politics. It offers a distinctive perspective on the nature of reality, knowledge, morality, and the role of government. Its emphasis on reason, individualism, and laissez-faire capitalism has resonated with many, particularly those who value personal freedom and achievement. Objectivism, as Ayn Rand meticulously crafted it, stands as a philosophical skyscraper, its foundation rooted in three fundamental axioms: existence, consciousness, and identity. These axioms form the bedrock upon which the entire structure of objectivism rests. Existence asserts reality. Consciousness acknowledges our perception, An identity defines the nature of reality. These simple yet profound axioms establish a world governed by objective laws. The principle of existence, the cornerstone of objectivism, shapes our understanding of the world. Reality is objective, existing independently of any observer. Mountains, rivers, and stars exist inherently. Objective reality operates by its own laws. Truth is absolute, not subjective. Success comes from understanding reality and acting accordingly. This forms the bedrock of objectivism. In Ayn Rand's objectivism, reason reigns supreme. It distinguishes humans, allowing us to grasp reality and navigate complexities. Reason encompasses acquiring and applying knowledge, guiding our actions. Objectivism posits reason as our only means of knowledge. It rejects mysticism, faith, and emotions as valid sources of knowledge. Embrace the power of reason to shape our destinies. For Ayn Rand, reason was not merely a tool for acquiring knowledge. It was the defining characteristic of humanity, the faculty that set us apart from the animal kingdom and allowed us to achieve unprecedented levels of progress. She argued passionately against any philosophy or ideology that sought to undermine the primacy of reason, seeing such attempts as a threat to individual freedom and human flourishing. Rand's emphasis on reason was inextricably linked to her belief in the power of the individual mind. She rejected the notion that knowledge was somehow bestowed upon us by external authorities, whether religious institutions, political parties, or even societal norms. Instead, she argued that each individual had the capacity to grasp reality through their own independent thinking. This emphasis on individual reason had profound implications for Rand's views on education. She believed that the primary goal of education should be to cultivate the ability to think critically and independently. Rote memorization and blind obedience to authority were anathema to her philosophy. Instead, she advocated for an educational approach that encouraged students to question, to explore, to think for themselves. The ideal student in Rand's view was not a passive recipient of information, but an active seeker of knowledge, driven by a thirst for understanding and a commitment to using their own minds to make sense of the world. While reason held the highest position in Ayn Rand's hierarchy of values, she did not dismiss the role of emotions in human life. Emotions were powerful, enriching our experiences, but could lead us astray. Rand believed emotions should be subservient to reason. Emotions reflect our values, but must not dictate actions. A life guided by rational principles ensures emotional integration. In a philosophy often perceived as starkly rational, Ayn Rand's view of art might seem paradoxical. She considered art essential, a vital expression of creativity. Art was a powerful tool for understanding the human condition. It shaped our values and broadened our horizons. Rand was drawn to romantic art, celebrating individual spirit and heroic ideals. Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism stands in stark contrast to the prevailing currents of collectivist thought that permeate much of modern society. Rand saw the relationship between the individual and society as a false dichotomy, a manufactured conflict designed to subjugate the individual to the supposed needs of the collective. She argued that society, in its truest sense, is not some monolithic entity existing apart from individuals, but rather a complex web of interactions between individuals, each pursuing their own values and aspirations. To elevate the collective above the individual, Rand believed, was to invert the natural order of things, to sacrifice the very engine of progress and human flourishing on the altar of an abstract and ultimately meaningless ideal. This false dichotomy, Rand argued, was at the root of countless social ills, from the tyranny of totalitarian regimes to the insidious creep of collectivist policies in ostensibly free societies. She saw it manifested in the welfare state, which she believed fostered dependency and eroded individual responsibility, and in the progressive income tax, which she viewed as a form of legalized plunder, penalizing success and rewarding mediocrity. For Rand, the only just and moral society was one that recognized the primacy of the individual, protecting individual rights, and allowing each person the freedom to pursue their own happiness without interference from the state or any other collective entity. At the heart of Ayn Rand's philosophy lies a profound respect for the individual, a belief in the inherent worth and dignity of each human being. She saw individualism as an ethical imperative, recognizing each person as an end in themselves with a moral right to pursue their own goals. This ethos celebrates independence, creativity, and the pursuit of excellence. Section 3. Collectivism. The mirage of group supremacy. Ayn Rand saw collectivism as a threat to human progress, a denial of individual rights, and a path to tyranny. She pointed to Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia as examples of its dangers. Rand believed true human flourishing lay in individualism and protecting individual rights. Section 1. Capitalism, the engine of progress. Ayn Rand's unwavering belief in the power of the individual led her to a passionate advocacy for laissez-faire capitalism, a system she saw as the only moral and practical economic system capable of unleashing human potential and creating widespread prosperity. For Rand, capitalism was not merely about material wealth, but about freedom, innovation, and the pursuit of excellence. She saw capitalism as the only system that aligned with the fundamental principles of her philosophy: reason, individualism, and the pursuit of rational self-interest. In a free market, individuals were free to think for themselves, to innovate and create, to trade goods and services based on mutual consent, and to reap the rewards of their own efforts. This freedom, Rand argued, was the essential ingredient for progress. When individuals are free to pursue their own economic interests, they inevitably create wealth, not just for themselves, but for society as a whole. The competition inherent in a free market drives innovation, efficiency, and a constant striving for improvement. Rand pointed to the history of capitalism as evidence for her claims. From the Industrial Revolution to the rise of Silicon Valley, she saw a clear correlation between economic freedom and human progress. She argued that every attempt to stifle capitalism, whether through government intervention or socialist policies, had led to economic stagnation, poverty, and oppression. Section 2. The morality of the free market. Ayn Rand's defense of capitalism was deeply rooted in her moral convictions. She argued that capitalism was the only moral economic system because it was based on voluntary exchange and individual rights. In a free market, individuals interact through peaceful voluntary transactions. Success depends on offering value that others are willing to pay for. Section 3. The role of government, a necessary evil. While Ayn Rand was a staunch advocate for individual liberty and free markets, she recognized the need for a limited government to protect those freedoms and ensure a just and orderly society. However, she believed that the role of government should be strictly circumscribed, limited to the essential functions of protecting individual rights, enforcing contracts, and providing for the national defense. She argued vehemently against any government intervention in the economy, believing that such interference inevitably led to distortions, inefficiencies, and a curtailment of individual liberty. She opposed welfare programs, progressive taxation, and any form of regulation that went beyond protecting individuals from fraud or coercion. For Rand, the ideal government was one that governed least, a minimalist state that existed solely to protect individual rights and ensure a level playing field for all citizens. She believed that any expansion of government power beyond these narrow limits was a slippery slope towards tyranny and the erosion of individual freedom. Her views on government reflected her deep-seated distrust of collective power and her unwavering belief in the capacity of individuals to manage their own affairs without interference from the state. She saw government at its best as a necessary evil, a tool to be used sparingly and with great caution to prevent chaos and protect individual liberty. Section 1. Living by the light of reason. Examples in action. To grasp objectivism, observe its principles in action. Imagine a young entrepreneur driven by reason and facts. He researches, plans, and manages resources meticulously. Success hinges on meeting customer needs. He ignores naysayers and stays focused, driven by vision and hard work. Consider a doctor dedicated to curing disease, guided by reason and evidence. Emotions don't cloud her judgment. Her dedication exemplifies objectivism. Imagine a couple with mutual respect and honesty. They take responsibility for their happiness. Valuing individuality strengthens their bond. They defy societal expectations. Their relationship embodies objectivism. These examples show objectivism in action. It empowers individuals to strive for greatness, a philosophy for those valuing reason and purpose. Section 2. The individualist spirit in literature and art. Ayn Rand's philosophy profoundly impacted literature and art, celebrating individualism and reason. Her novels, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, exemplify objectivist themes. Characters like Howard Roark and Dagny Taggart symbolize individual achievement. Rand's ideas resonate with diverse artists and writers. Authors like Terry Goodkind explore themes of individual liberty and reason. Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress presents libertarian ideals. Andrew Wyeth's paintings evoke independence and self-reliance. Jackson Pollock's works emphasize individual creativity. Rand's ideas influence cinema, emphasizing reason and objective truth. Filmmakers like Stanley Kubrick explored themes of human nature and critical thinking. David Fincher's films grapple with morality and justice. The enduring legacy of Ayn Rand. A philosophical revolution. Ayn Rand's objectivism, controversial yet influential, has left a lasting mark on modern thought. Her ideas shook intellectual discourse, challenging reality, morality, and government roles, embraced by some for individual liberty, criticized by others for lacking compassion. Rand's influence spans politics, economics, art, and culture. Her emphasis on individual rights and free markets resonates widely. Her ideas continue to provoke thought and challenge conventional wisdom. Her legacy is marked by both passionate supporters and ardent detractors. Rand's philosophy, like a double-edged sword, remains a powerful force in shaping our world. The individual in the balance. Weighing the impact of objectivism. Ayn Rand's objectivism, like a bold stroke on a canvas, has left an undeniable mark on 20th century thought, advocating reason, individualism, and laissez-faire capitalism. Rand sparked both admiration and criticism. Critics see a lack of compassion, while supporters view her as a champion of individual liberty. Objectivism respects the individual, believing each person is an end in themselves. Rand's philosophy emphasizes rational self-interest and individual happiness. Critics argue it downplays community and social responsibility. The debate centers on balancing individual liberty and the common good. A polarizing legacy. Ayn Rand's enduring influence. Ayn Rand's legacy is marked by passionate admiration and enduring controversy. Her work has sparked debates, influenced political movements, and inspired artists, writers, and thinkers. Critics dismiss her as simplistic, while supporters see her as a visionary defending individual liberty. Rand's influence is evident in libertarian and conservative movements, especially in the U.S. Her emphasis on reason and rejection of religious dogma appeals to some liberals and atheists. In literature and film, Rand's ideas inspire themes of individualism and excellence. Her novels, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, are cult classics, inspiring generations. However, Rand's legacy is not without its critics. Many argue her philosophy is overly individualistic and blind to social injustice. Critics contend her emphasis on self-interest erodes community bonds and social solidarity. Despite criticisms, Rand's work continues to provoke thought and challenge conventional wisdom. Her ideas, like a philosophical lightning rod, attract both fervent adherents and staunch detractors. A challenge to the status quo. Objectivism's unflinching message. Ayn Rand's objectivism challenges the status quo, urging us to examine our assumptions and live by reason. It celebrates self-ownership, the pursuit of happiness, and living with purpose. Objectivism's core message of self-reliance and personal responsibility holds timeless appeal. Embrace individuality, think for yourself, and strive to make a meaningful contribution.